As a Team for Capella and Cloud for Capella product lead, I'm really pleased to present this session about Team for Capella, so an add-on, which is an add-on enabling you to work in a multi-user mode with some live collaboration on your Capella models and representations. I have been working for Obeo since 2008 on several topics and technology related to serious Capella and on the different collaborative components which are part of Team for Capella. To begin, I have a few words about Obeo. So we are an independent French company founded in 2005. We have 60 employees in the company, but we have a global reach with representatives and partners in all continents. We are a software company specialized in creative, innovative modeling technologies, mainly as open source, and we help our customers to build the right modeling tools for designing or operating their complex systems, thanks to the products and service we provide. We operate in many sectors, such as aerospace and defense, transportation, energy, healthcare, and services, and we have products and service offerings in 3 main domains. First one is MBSE field around Capella and related add-ons and technologies. Second domain deals with Smart EA, an enterprise architecture software implementing the TOGAF and Archimate standards. And we also have a third offering domain, which comes with Obeo Designer, a modeling solution enabling you to build your own graphical modeling environment based on the same technologies and the one on which are built Capella and the other projects. A few words about Capella and Obeo. We are involved since the beginning of Capella. We have developed Sirius, which is a graphical framework on which Capella Workbench is based. We also manage the migration of Capella to open source by setting up the Eclipse development process, by applying the Eclipse best practice. And we still contribute to the development of Capella with 6 active committers, committers to the source code. We manage the website and organize events around Capella, like Capella Days on the webinar like today. We provide add-ons on top of Capella, like M2Doc, Team for Capella, Publication for Capella, Cloud for Capella, Eco-Design for Capella, and so on. And so our goal is to help you to tailor Capella for your most critical projects. Here is a vision of the interdependence between the complexity of systems and the number of system engineers involved in complex projects. When you adopt the MBSE approach and you choose a tool, Capella today, and a concrete methodology, which might be Arcadia when you use Capella, usually start on simple projects. This does not mean that the system you want to modelize is complex, but you might begin by a simplified or first level of modeling, and then when the increase of modelization effort or your MBSE adoption grows, you will have more and more people involved, and you will multiply the modelized architectures. Regarding the scope of your project, you might involve several system engineers from your small or medium or big teams inside your company, but you could also go to distributed teams among several organizations with a need for collaboration and needs to perform parallel or concurrent evolutions of your modelized systems. Here are some real-life projects feedback of using Capella. For example, in Australia, Thales is building the One Sky project with is a system of systems composed of more than 10 systems with lots of interface to legacy systems. You could also find Thermo Fisher Scientific, which is building some TEMS, transmission electron microscopes. They are composed of 400 modules. There are several possible configuration with a long lifespan, and there are around 400 engineers building those systems. And another example could be ESA with the second generation of Galileo satellites. It's a system composed of around 30 satellites with 2 ground centers and 15 remote sites worldwide to organize or build and manage a system. So When you have such complex system and you want to use Capella, you will begin by using Capella with Capella projects. If you use Capella projects, you will collaborate with files. Capella is mainly file-oriented. When you work with a Capella project, you have three main files. A .capella file, which contains the Capella semantic model with component, function, and all the Capella concepts. You have some AYRD file, which contains the graphical data, and so the diagrams, the layout, and everything, and some other files for consistency checks. On the right, you can see the interface of a standard project. This is a sample in-flight entertainment system. We retrieve the file, some images. We see that the diagrams are available in representations per category subtree, but also displayed inside the Capella model, which is itself displayed as a child of the AYRD file. When you collaborate with files as a team, you will end up as, you will be confronted to the standard problems with files as other softwares when you exchange files for Word or anything. You will have maybe issues with version identification of file when you share some file with other teammates. At some point, you might try to use some capabilities provided by Capella to try to fragment your models, your projects, and try to organize the collaboration and modification of the files. You will maybe use some software configuration management tool like Git to manage the files and try to identify the changes done by several people at a file level. And then you will use the diff and merge capability of Capella to try to reconcile the different version of your files when they have been modified by several people. There is a limitation with the fragmentation approach. When you multiply the number of people working on files, and if you try to organize your fragments following the growth of your model, you might end up in a worst case situation. You have to keep the level of fragmentation low because Capella and the different files are, in fact, directed graphs of objects with multiple inter-object references. And the more you will fragment, the more you will have references between fragments. Because in Capella, some impact or changes can have impact on other parts of the model. You have numerous technical objects which are not always displayed to the end user. And for example, some elements like traceability or allocation links might not be stored close or to the reference element or might not be stored where you think they will be. Then when you want to reconcile your files or your different version of a project, you will use diff merge, which with its very technical and strong approach, it is able to find all the differences between two models, but you will maybe need to perform reconciliations with your team by managing conflicts and trying to find the better way to merge or get all the changes. It can be time-consuming, but it is also not always error-proof. And so simultaneous evolutions performed by several users on file projects are possible, but they must be done with caution and discipline to avoid to have too many changes to merge or to avoid to have conflicts on the same part of the model. And to avoid those loss of time and sessions of diff merge, the Team4 Capella add-on have been introduced and created to allow live collaboration. It allows your team to simultaneously edit models. It comes with a live collaboration part. You can see the work done by other users. You can dynamically see or receive their changes. It is a time-saving solution because you do not waste time to solve conflicts because you will have no conflicts. And you also have a standard way to access data because every user which is allowed to connect to a Team4 Capella project will know that when they open their project, they are connected to the reference version, and so they are ready to work on the model. There are several components in Team4 Capella. The main one is client part. When you work on Capella, you usually have one Capella workbench plus sometimes several add-ons. And in this workbench, you will install the Team4 Capella client, which is an add-on which will provide some user interface additions and some core components to allow client-server communications, security, and also a Capella model implementation able to perform the server-side serialization. And if you use other add-ons, they will be compatible with Capella if they provide their own Team4 Capella extension for their model extensions. Team4 Capella comes with several components which will allow you to ensure protections against unauthorized access. You have some different authentication system. You can rely to your LDAP or Active Directory or as OpenID Connect provider. You can exchange data through some encrypted communication, and the access rights can be configured to allow or forbid user access. Sorry. The Team4 Capella user interface is similar to Capella, and we focus on bringing a user experience which is similar to the standard use of Capella when you perform day-to-day operations. The main difference is that you will not work with a Capella project, but you will work with a Capella connected project. It contains 2 files and not 3. You do not have the .capella file because the data is stored on the server. Instead, you have just .team.ayrd and .team.afm files, which contains the consistency checks and the connection information. We provide a lazy loading of graphical data. So usually when you connect or open your connected project, it downloads and gets you the Capella file, Capella model content, and then the graphical data is retrieved when needed when you open or use the diagrams. And you will have authentication as at project opening. On the right, you can see the user interface side by side with Capella. And so when you open and use your project, you usually retrieve all your standard information. A few differences. You have a connected decorator, which allow you to know when data correspond to Team4 Capella data. You have some indication about who is connected or who has logs. You can retrieve user 1 and user 2 here on the screenshots. You can have some log status and logs menu because there are several logs mechanism. I will come back on that later. And as there is no more files in the project, you have also a specific image management tool, which allow you to retrieve your images of your project and manage them in a specific way. I have now a first demo. I will enable the video. So here I am in my environment. I have launched 2 Capella. One is for user 1. The second one is for user 2. User 1 already has 2 projects in his workspace. He has in-flight entertainment system, which is closed, and he already has created his connected project. When he double clicks on the AYRD, it opens a pop-up and asks him to authenticate. He can open the project, navigate the project as he would do with a local project, open the diagram and begin to work. So it's slightly the same process on working on files. If the user begins to move some elements, we can see that some logs are taken. We have different levels of logs. The first one is the logs on diagram. When you perform any layout operation, it takes a log on the diagram. The logs are displayed in every part of the user interface. And if user 1 begins to modify the Capella objects, you have individual logs on Capella objects. User 2 now tries to open a connected project. You can register several servers, but right now I'm using the default one. I'm connecting as user 2. I'm selecting one of the remote projects which is available on the server. There are a few options to enable automatic refresh or refresh of diagrams at opening, but by default, they are disabled for Team4 Capella connected projects. And when a user opens his diagrams, we can see here that user 1 has pending modifications, and those elements will will be visible from user 2 as locked by user 1. User 2 is still navigating. We see some logs taken by user 1, and we can see that it will open its diagram. Move a little bit. Yeah, he opens the diagram that is locked. The diagram is locked, so modifications are forbidden and the palette is empty. We can see that the properties view are also frozen and locked, sorry, and so it prevents any conflicts to be created. When user 1 has saved, the logs are released. We can see that there is a little decoration on the user 2 diagram because the diagram is frozen. It needs to manually refresh it to get visual modifications to prevent some link effect and choose when you see the modifications performed by other user, but the model is already up to date. If user 2 performs some changes, user 1 receives them, the diagram is locked, but user 1 can still continue to work on the same part of the model. And as soon as they do not use the same object, they can continue to modify different parts of the model or different layers, the graphical or the semantic model. That's it for the live edition inside Team4 Capella. Okay, so Team4 Capella comes with a shared server and collaborative work mechanism. You have a fine-grained locking system. Objects are automatically locked when they are modified by the user, and they are unlocked when the user saves. It sends the modifications to the server and propagates the changes and the lock notification to all the other users. And you can it provides real-time changes. The other user automatically receives the lock notification and have access, to the saved changes. It is also possible to use some explicit locks to reserve some part of the model and decorate the fact that you first take the lock and then you perform modifications. It's also possible to keep tracks of changes. We provide a commit history view in which you will retrieve all the changes done on your server. By default, there is a save with description pop-up which allows you to complete the commit description, but it is also possible to enforce it. And in the right pane, you have several display options which allow to compute the impacted diagram and change the presentation or filter the presentation of the change element. I have a second demo. So this demo starts by the enablement of the save with description pop-up. So once enabled with this configuration, each time the user will save, he will have a pop-up to justify his changes, and his changes will be pre-filled. The description will be pre-filled by the previous commit description. So if I make a modification, I click on save, I will have the pop-up. I can document my changes. This is a layout modification, for example. Then I can perform other changes. For this demo, it's mainly layout modification for now. If I want to see all my changes, I have some menus in the interface to retrieve the commit history. And here I can retrieve that user 1 has made some documentation, user 2 has performed some layout changes, then user 1 has performed some things. Here I have clicked on one button here. There is a special mode in the interface to aggregate consecutive commit done by the same user with the same description, so that it is possible to see all the atomic changes, atomic being one set of modification plus a save and data sent to the server. But if a user modifies the model, save, perform other modification with the same justification, we consider that this is the same aggregate change, and so it is possible to display all the change as this. And so you will mainly see the iteration between the different users. It is possible to display and compute the different impacted diagrams, display the different impacted elements, and at some point it is also possible to compare two commits. For the example, this one has no justification. We see a few modification in the tree, but we would like to see exactly what has been done. It's possible to launch the diff merge tool of Capella on two consecutive commits or two different commits, and we will retrieve all the capability of the diff merge tool to retrieve all the changes performed between two versions of the model. So it can go from the Capella model, but we can also go deep inside the different technical part of the model, the graphical one, and the deep graphical underlying information also. So next point of the demo is we can also export the commit history. We can choose to compute all the changes and compute the impacted representations. And so this produces a model and a file in the workspace which will contain a view of all the changes with technical information. You have the number of modifications and also the attributes, the IDs of modified elements with different ways to get them. So it's possible to keep this as a traceability element if you want to know what has changed or keep tracks of changes. I come back to my screen. T4Capella can be used to support several workflows. So I have, in the previous demo, we have seen that we have a connection or connect project creation wizard, but we also provide two other wizards. One is for exporting data to the server and upload data or send data from file to T4Capella, and you have the opposite wizard, which allow to extract data from T4Capella to get back your project as files. In the latest version of Capella, we have improved the usability or the iterations on models and on import export, and so those wizards are now more capable to support multiple export or iterative exports to T4Capella and iterative imports from T4Capella. So it's also easy to integrate T4Capella with your versioning system. T4Capella is not a version management system, but it can be used as a companion tool to your versioning system. You can first check out your project from your versioning system. You export them to T4Capella server. You have your team who will collaborate on them. And at any time during the collaboration, you can perform different export from T4Capella to your versioning system. It can be done automatically on the server-side feature I will present later, but it can also be done by your team. And at some point where you define that you have a baseline, you can stop the collaboration. You can re-export another version of your model or another project on your repository and restart later a new collaboration session. It is also possible to support more advanced scenario. I have a layout issue with my presentation. So you can have in your versioning system several branches. And in T4Capella, you will export and make collaboration in different sessions. So first, you can work with version 1, iterate, export data to T4Capella server. You can then later work with V2 and re-export the V2 version to your T4Capella server, work on it, and then later move to a third branch of your model. At some point where you have several projects on your in your repository, managed by several teams or several people. You might decide to end the collaboration session and to get rid of your repository and recreate a new one. But for that, this means that you might have to handle the life cycle of your project. And if you have several teams or several projects, they will not always have the same life cycle. So for that, we support the work with simultaneous team. You can have one team working with one project on one repository. You can have a second team working on a second repository and a third team working on a third repository. So it is possible that on one Team4 Capella server, you host several repositories, and for each repository, you will manage the user access. So it is also a way to control the lifecycle of your project, but also a way to mitigate or control the access on each project and isolate the project based on a need-to-know basis, for example. It is also possible to use several servers, because when you will deploy Team4 Capella, or when Team4 Capella is deployed, sometimes it is needed to isolate. So as said before, isolate the data between different levels of need to know. It can be several servers in the same network area or a same site, but it can also be different sites if you have a geographically distributed team, for example, or organization. But it will also be possible to give access from a network or from a site to another deployment. For that, you will need to have a stable network, minimal network latency, and the main thing is to have the same set of add-ons and the same version of Capella and Team4. I will come back on stability or ways to mitigate this later. For Team4 Capella deployments, you will have additional components on just the client part I have shown before. So it is a client server system, and so you have a client part, but you also have a server. Team4 Capella server comes with a scheduler component, which is an administrative orchestrator, which allow you to manage your Team4 Capella server application, a licensed server application, but also, a server-side client, which will be used to perform administrative tasks, backups, and so on. Team4 Capella is strongly aligned with Capella. We provide a release one version of Team4 Capella for each version of Capella. Those two software are strongly aligned. Development and acceptance campaign are performed in the same time by both development teams. You will have a new version of Team4 Capella, and Capella released in a few days in July. It will provide some user experience enhancements, some packaging, installation, and deployment enhancement, and also several stability and performance improvements. I have put the link here. I think we will put a clickable link after the webinar with the official release notes. Team4 Capella supports several deployment modes. It's possible to deploy Team4 Capella on-premise. It will be deployed on your own infrastructure. It will rely on your IT. As shown in the previous slide, it will be possible to isolate some deployments or have a customized deployment with several servers, several repositories, or just a simple deployment with one repo, one server, and one team working on it. It is also possible to deploy Team4 Capella in the cloud with Cloud4 Capella in a cloud infrastructure which will be installed and managed by Obeo. This time, it will be a ready-to-use and uniform environment. You will have easy collaboration with partners and external entity based on our system and our installation of Cloud4 Capella. For your on-premise deployments, there are two main deployment modes. The first one is the most easier to deploy. Your IT will provide a Team4 Capella client where they will have prepared your Capella workbench plus your add-ons plus Team4 Capella. It will be deployed on your laptop, and you will access a Team4 Capella server deployed on your IT infrastructure. But when you use maybe VPN, remote work, home office, or geographically distributed teams, it is also recommended to move to the remote client approach. In this case, your IT infrastructure will deploy Team4 Capella server and Team4 Capella on your infrastructure, but they will give you access to Team4 Capella through remote desktop technologies like remote desktop VDI or virtual machines, or maybe some Guacamole or other or Citrix or other technology that are deployed in your organization. This will provide better performances, maybe an easier management because your IT will be able to dimension and get you more memory when needed and so on. It will also allow to enforce data isolation and security inside your environment. For Cloud for Capella, it will be deployed for you on a dedicated cloud infrastructure managed by Obeo on AWS cloud infrastructure. In this case, you have a quick start and you can use a ready-to-use environment with a set of pre-installed add-ons, so M2 docs, requirements, PVMT, filtering, system and XHTML generation. You can provide the access or open the access to your team or partners. We provide and Obeo will manage the automatic and constant backups, and we have several scalability plans to handle the increased usage of the tool. When you deploy or choose Cloud for Capella, we give you some URL. The access of Capella is done in your web browser. I will demonstrate it by using Capella through macOS and Safari. You click on the URL provided by Obeo. You end up in some sign-in page to sign you in the ObeoSoft organization, AWS organization. Then you have access to your tool and your deployment. When you click on Capella, it's AWS and the upstream service which will mount a virtual machine and provision everything that is needed. And after launching Capella, you will have your Capella in your browser. Let me switch the video, the demo on. So the demo starts just after clicking on upstream reservation. It launches VM under the hood, and it launches Capella. Capella is open and is currently used in a browser. And you retrieve your standard use of Capella plus Team4 Capella. Here I have a local project plus Team4 Capella project. So once you are in this environment, you can use Capella as you would use it on your laptop. It's just that it is remotely working and your data is stored in Obeo's cloud. We provide a dedicated environment and cloud fully isolated for each customer. You have different ways to get your data out of this environment. I will jump in the end of the demo for that. So here I have a project in my environment. I want to export it to my shared file area on the infrastructure. It's a part with some temporary files, in which I can create my archive containing my project. And when it will be saved in this area of the Cloud for Capella environment, I will have the possibility to click in the toolbar here and download it from the environment. I can use the same interface to manage the exchange of data and the upload of data from my laptop to the Cloud for Capella environment. And so it's a way to easily send data to Cloud for Capella and retrieve data from Cloud. I go back to my environment, to my demo. So Cloud for Capella comes with several included services. The installation is fully managed by Obeo. The administration is fully managed by Obeo. We provide also assistance to upgrade Capella and the selected add-ons when a new version is out. And we also provide maintenance and support on the assistance related to the cloud infrastructure and on the support of T4 Capella and T2Doc. The default support for Cloud for Capella does not cover the whole Capella environment and all the add-ons. This can be addressed through specific services. And regarding the administration, it depends on the maturity of your team. Some customers manage a part of their server by themselves. So we have different kind of usage observed in the current Cloud for Capella deployments. We have some deployments which have been running over several years, and we also have some POC deployments. Some customers wanted to test collaboration layer and different workflow before an adoption and some on-premise deployment, but they wanted to begin in parallel on the discussion with their IT. We have several usage. Some organizations are currently working on a few shared projects plus some local projects which no more require or not yet require collaboration. We have people working on with a team of 15 people connected at the same time, and they are building a big model with more than 700 diagrams plus a few file-based variants. But for the file-based variants, they carefully modify them to avoid conflicts. And we also have some customers who have around 20 repositories managed by their team. And on each repo they work on one project at 2 or 3 system engineers at the same time. For Cloud for Capella, Obeo is managing all the administration of servers. If you deploy T4 Capella on premise, you will manage, or your IT will manage the T4 Capella server. I will now show a few features which are on the administration part and that we use when we deploy Cloud for Capella, but which are also provided to you as customers as default configuration. So we can manage several kinds of repositories. You have some static repositories which are defining configuration file, but they require the server to be restarted, and so they impact all the teams. And the administrator has also access to a web browser REST API to create dynamic repository, which can be created or stopped or deleted on the fly. And so you can have modification of your deployment without impacting the connected user on other repositories. You also have a way to use this same web interface to create web interface or API to create, list, or delete some users. We provide several components to orchestrate T4 Capella server, produce backups, create artifacts like changelogs, models, and so on. Usually, we provide a lot of default jobs to perform backups, restore the database, extract data from a certain point in the time. You can also use some of them to run, stop, list the logs, and so on. Several operations are possible. So those tasks are default jobs. They are provided as this. They can be extended and modified to match your IT policies or your need for frequent backup, or your need to export your backups or your projects in an automated way to Git or other SCM tools. And we can also combine those T4 Capella jobs with some command line tools provided by default by Capella. So you can mix a back extraction from T4 Capella with some model validation and refresh representation step, and then trigger the XHTML generation or the generation or some Python for Capella scripts, or generation or document with T2Doc, for example. So it can be built, it can allow to build your own workflow around your model and avoid some manual operation by your team, but you can automate them instead. We have several references and customers who use Team4Capella. This is a non-exhaustive list. You can retrieve Thales, Lilium, Deutsche Bahn, ESA, Rolls-Royce, and so on. So I will not tell all the names, but we have a few interesting names here. So as a wrap-up of this Team4Capella presentation, this is an add-on which allows live collaboration by several teams or several people. So live collaboration on Team4Capella Capella models. You can save time because you do not waste time anymore to try to solve conflicts, because you have no more any conflicts in your project when you make modifications by a team or several users, and you have a standard way to access data. Your models your team can access without questions to the latest and current version, which is under modification. They can track the change and they can organize the evolutions on your model. I have put two links towards Cloud4Capella and Team4Capella. We'll also give them in the chat, I think. If you have questions about the products, if you want to try them, if you are interested, do not hesitate to go on those pages and ask for a presentation or for a trial. And if you want to go further, we have other add-ons. For example, Publication4Capella, which will allow you to manage traceability and build some integrated source of trust. So, for example, you manage links towards other artifacts, requirements, test case, change requests, and links from other tools like IBM Doors Next or Siemens Polarion. And it is compatible with Team4Capella, so you can work collaboratively on your project, but then at some point you can publish the project and have static links from other tools to the Publication4Capella servers. So it is a way to integrate all your different models as different source of truth and use them and make them available across different engineering disciplines.
So yeah, the first question is the Capella model repository based on Eclipse CDO, or does it implement its own model versioning and persistence technology?
Yes, Capella model repository is based on T4Capella server, and the Team4Capella client are based on Eclipse CDO, which is a technology which extends the other technology used inside Capella to build the model and provide all the change, command stack commands, and model capabilities.
Okay.
Maybe to precise this, we use a fork version by Obeo. And so we have a few modifications done to tailor Eclipse CDO to Capella needs.
If an element used in multiple diagrams is changed by user 1, will the logs show in all related diagrams of user 2 by Mingwei?
Yes, if you modify an object, or the system will take an automatic lock. If you manually lock it, the system will take a explicit locks, but for the other user, it will be seen in the same way, and the object will be locked and seen as locked in all the views of Capella, the project explorer, the semantic browser, and so on. And all the views presenting this element on any diagrams will also present a dedicated red lock. So the object will be seen as locked on every diagrams, every views, and everywhere in the tool.
So yeah, by question by Adrian, how long ago was Team4Capella first released? Is it still new and buggy?
No. So Team4Capella has been, I assume that first iteration of Team4Capella has been released in 2016. It was Team4Capella 101, and it was compatible with Capella 101. And now so the latest public release of Team4Capella was 6.1 a few months ago, targeting Capella 6.1, and we will release Team4Capella 7 with Capella 7 in a few days or weeks. I do not consider it anymore new and buggy because it is more than 8 years old, and we have dramatically increased its stability and performances over the years. And now when you see that we have customers working on for Capella, a Capella project inside Team for Capella with 15 people at the same time and more than on project with several hundreds diagrams, I assume it is as stable as Capella.
Thank you again, Maxime, for the presentation, and
Thank you, Martin.
thanks everyone for attending.